There comes a moment in every person's life where the world stops feeling fair, where everything you trusted, everything you built, everything you sacrificed for, falls apart in front of your eyes. And in that moment, when life breaks you, you're left with a silence so loud it shakes your chest. You look around, but nobody sees the war happening inside you. Nobody sees the nights you're fighting sleep, because sleep means facing the memories you're trying so hard to escape. Nobody sees how heavy your own heart feels. They only see the mask you wear, the smile you force, the strength you pretend you still have. But here's the truth. Most people never realize. Life doesn't break you to destroy you. Life breaks you to rebuild you. The version of you that existed before the pain cannot carry the weight of the future that's coming for you. So life strips you down. It takes every comfort from your hands. It takes every illusion from your eyes. It takes every weakness you're still holding on to. Not because you deserve pain, but because you deserve transformation. You must understand something. Pressure doesn't come to crush you. Pressure comes to shape you. Diamonds don't come from comfort. Warriors aren't born in the sunlight. Strength doesn't grow in peace. Every strong soul was once shattered, questioned, doubted, and abandoned. And the moment you feel you've hit rock bottom is often the moment life hands you the foundation you need to rise again. There are days when you don't even recognize yourself anymore. Days when the person in the mirror feels like a stranger wearing your face. Days when you question everything, your worth, your path, your purpose, your future. But even in those moments, even in the deepest shadows, there is a heartbeat inside you whispering, "You're not done yet." And that's the part life is trying to awaken. That fire, that hunger, that unbreakable core you forgot you had. You don't rise when everything is easy. You rise when everything feels impossible, but you stand anyway. You rise when life hits you harder than you expected, but you refuse to fall. You rise when the world walks away, and you decide you can walk forward alone. When life breaks you, it's calling you to evolve, to step into a version of yourself that you've never met. A version that is wiser, stronger, sharper. A version that no longer settles for anything less than purpose. A version that doesn't chase validation, love, approval, or comfort. A version that knows, if I survive that, I can survive anything. This pain, yes, the one that feels unbearable, it's not your enemy. It's your turning point. It's your awakening. It's the moment your old self dies and your new self is born. And when life breaks, you don't run, don't numb it, don't bury it, face it. Stand in the fire. Let it burn what needs to go. Let it create what you were meant to become. You are not breaking, you are being reforged. You are not ending, you are transforming. You are not finished, you are being prepared. When life breaks you, remember this. It's only so you can rise in a way you never have before. The breaking point is never loud at first. It doesn't arrive like a warning. It doesn't tap you on the shoulder and ask for permission. It slips quietly into your life, slowly, silently, almost politely, until one day it hits you with the full weight of everything you've been ignoring, everything you've been pretending to be okay with, everything you thought you had under control. The breaking point comes when your strength has been stretched so thin you can see through it. When the expectations people have placed on you feel heavier than your own body. When the dreams you've carried for years start to feel impossible. When the future looks blurry and the past looks painful and the present feels like a battlefield you never asked to fight in. Life has this way of pushing you right to the edge, not because it wants to see you fall, but because it wants you to finally face the truths you've been running from. And at the breaking point, those truths become unavoidable. This is the moment where your heart feels like it's cracking from the inside, where your chest feels tight, your throat feels heavy, your mind feels loud, and your soul feels tired. You try to act normal around people, but inside you're holding 1,000 emotions that don't have names. You're carrying a pain that feels too heavy to explain, and even if you tried, nobody would fully understand what you're going through. The breaking point makes you question everything. Your purpose, your path, your choices, even your worth. It forces you to see the parts of your life you've outgrown, the people you've been trying so hard to please, the situations you've been tolerating just to keep peace, the dreams you've been shrinking just to fit inside a world that was too small for you. It's painful because it's honest. It's painful because it removes your illusions. It's painful because it shakes the foundation you've been standing on for years. And in this moment, life feels unfair. It feels like the world is placing a hand on your chest and pushing you into the ground. You try to stand, but your knees feel weak. You try to breathe, but your lungs feel tight. You try to hold on, but your grip is slipping. The truth is, breaking isn't gentle. Breaking doesn't care about timing. Breaking doesn't ask whether you're ready. It just happens. And when it does, a part of you feels lost. The version of you that fought so hard to stay strong starts to crumble. The version of you that always kept everything together starts to fall apart. And falling apart hurts, because you've been holding yourself together for so long that you forgot what it feels like to simply feel. But there's something powerful about this moment. Something you might not recognize at first. Something that hides beneath the pain. The breaking point is not random. It's a signal. A calling. A moment where life is trying to pull you toward a different version of yourself. It's life telling you that the way you've been living is no longer aligned with the person you're becoming. It's life telling you that the direction you were headed in would have taken you further away from your true path. It's life telling you that you can't evolve while staying the same. Growth demands sacrifice. And sometimes the first thing it asks for is the illusion of strength you've built around yourself. At the breaking point, you meet the rawest version of who you are. The version without the mask, without the performance, without the expectations. Just you, the unpolished you, the vulnerable you, the real you. And even though this version feels weak, this is the version where true transformation begins. This is the version that finally admits it's tired, that it needs to let go, that it needs to stop pretending, that it needs to start choosing itself. But before that awakening can happen, the breaking must come first. Because sometimes the only way to see clearly is to be shattered. Sometimes the only way to heal is to hurt. Sometimes the only way to move forward is to be forced backward long enough to realize what you really need. There's a reason pressure comes before strength. A reason storms come before calm. A reason endings appear before new beginnings. The breaking point is life shaking the pieces that no longer belong to you. It's stripping away the layers you should have shed long ago. It's removing the weight you were never meant to carry. And even though this moment feels unbearable, it is the exact moment where your rebirth begins. The pain you feel isn't a punishment, it's a process. It's the tearing down of the old so the new can rise. It's life preparing you for a future you can't see yet. A future that requires a stronger, clearer, more awakened version of you. The internal war begins long before anyone notices. It starts quietly, in the hidden corners of your mind, where nobody else sees. It starts with thoughts you don't admit out loud, with feelings you push down because you don't want to appear weak, with fears you pretend you don't have. This war doesn't show up with warning signs. It builds slowly, piece by piece, day after day, until suddenly you realize you're fighting a battle inside your own head while the rest of the world thinks you're doing fine. And this is the hardest part. People look at you and see someone functioning, someone smiling, someone moving through life, but inside you're carrying storms that would drown anyone else. You're holding back tears that burn behind your eyes. You're forcing yourself to keep going even when your heart feels empty and your mind feels exhausted. This is the internal war, the one that eats at you quietly. The one that teaches you that suffering isn't always loud. Sometimes it's a silent scream trapped behind a steady face. And in this war, your thoughts become your enemies. Not because they want to hurt you, but because they're trying to protect you in ways that no longer make sense. Fear tries to shield you from pain by convincing you to avoid risk. Doubt tries to keep you safe by telling you you're not ready. Overthinking tries to control everything by making you replay every mistake, every conversation, every decision. These thoughts aren't villains. They're worn-out survival instincts you developed during moments when you had no choice. But now, they've become chains. Heavy chains. Chains that keep you stuck in a place you've outgrown. And every day, the war continues as you try to break free from the patterns that no longer serve you but still hold power over your mind. This war is not just mental, it's emotional. There are days when you feel everything too deeply, and days when you feel nothing at all. Days when the smallest thing breaks you, and days when even the biggest challenges don't move you. You swing between extremes because your heart is trying to make sense of a world that keeps shifting beneath your feet. You care too much, then you don't care at all. You love deeply, then you shut down completely. You reach for connection, then push people away without meaning to. It's not that you're confused, it's that you're trying to protect yourself while also longing to feel understood. This contradiction creates a storm inside you, a battle between your desire to heal and your fear of being hurt again. And the hardest part, most of this war happens in silence. You don't talk about it because you don't want to burden anyone. You don't share it because you're afraid they won't understand. You don't explain it because you've convinced yourself that nobody would believe how heavy life feels for you right now. So you carry it alone. You hold your breath through every wave of emotion. You fight back tears in the middle of conversations. You force yourself to smile when inside you're falling apart. You put on a brave face because somewhere along the line you decided your pain wasn't important enough to be seen. And so the internal war continues, hidden behind quiet nods and tired eyes. But the war is not without purpose. As painful as it is, it's revealing things you've ignored for far too long. It's showing you your triggers, your wounds, your patterns, your weaknesses, and your strength. It's forcing you to confront the emotions you buried years ago, the heartbreak you never processed, the betrayal you never healed from, the losses you never fully accepted, the disappointment you never spoke about. Every wave of emotion, every breakdown, every moment of anxiety or confusion is life pushing unresolved pain to the surface, not to torment you, but to free you. Because you cannot become who you were meant to be while carrying the weight of who you used to be. And this internal war is the process of shedding those old versions of yourself. There are moments in this war when you feel like giving up, moments when everything feels too heavy and you question whether you're strong enough to keep going. But these moments matter because it's in these moments that a small voice inside you whispers, "Keep going." And that voice, even when faint, even when shaky, even when tired, is the part of you that refuses to die. It's the part of you that knows there's something better waiting on the other side of this pain. It's the part of you that's fighting for a future you can't see yet. And this is why the internal war is so important. It's shaping your resilience, your clarity, your inner strength. It's teaching you to trust yourself again, to choose yourself again, to find yourself again. This war feels chaotic, messy, overwhelming. But inside that chaos is the beginning of transformation. Inside the pain is the beginning of truth. Inside the conflict is the beginning of healing. The internal war is not a punishment. It is a necessary breaking of old patterns, a necessary confrontation with your shadows, a necessary awakening of the strength buried beneath your scars. The rise after ruin doesn't happen in a single moment. It doesn't look heroic at first. It doesn't feel powerful or cinematic. It begins quietly, in the smallest shifts inside you, long before the world ever notices. After you've been broken, after you've walked through the darkness, after you've fought the internal war that left you exhausted and unsure, something inside you starts to change. It's subtle, almost invisible, a tiny spark that refuses to go out even when everything around you feels cold. This rise isn't loud. It begins with a whisper inside your soul that says, "You're not finished yet." That whisper is the first sign that the pain you endured is starting to transform you into someone stronger. Rising after ruin means you begin to rebuild your relationship with yourself. You stop blaming yourself for the moments you fell apart. You stop judging yourself for the pain you carried. You stop apologizing for the emotions you couldn't control. You start seeing yourself not as someone who failed, but as someone who survived something most people wouldn't even talk about. Slowly, you begin to understand that everything you went through didn't break you, it revealed you. It showed you the strength you didn't know you had, the endurance you never recognized, the resilience that runs deeper than your fears. And with this realization comes a kind of quiet confidence, the kind that doesn't need to speak loudly to be real. It exists in your presence, in your energy, in the way you carry yourself after everything you've endured. And as you rise, you start noticing how differently you see the world. The things that once triggered you don't hold the same power. The people who once drained your energy no longer have the same access to you. The situations that once scared you don't intimidate you the way they used to. Pain sharpens your vision. Heartbreak opens your awareness. Loss strengthens your boundaries. Every wound becomes a teacher. Every failure becomes a lesson in disguise. Every disappointment becomes a redirection. The version of you that emerges after the ruin is wiser, more cautious, more intentional. You start choosing differently. You start caring differently. You start valuing your time and energy more than you ever have. This is what rising truly looks like, rediscovering your worth in a way that becomes undeniable. Rising after ruin also means learning to let go. Letting go of the expectations that once suffocated you. Letting go of the people who never valued you. Letting go of the fears that kept you small. Letting go of the old versions of yourself that were built on survival instead of truth. This letting go isn't easy. It hurts. It feels like losing parts of yourself. But as you release what no longer belongs, you make space for something new, for clarity, for strength, for peace, for growth. And slowly, the heaviness that weighed you down begins to lift. The emotions that once overwhelmed you start to make sense. The past that once haunted you starts to feel distant. This is the moment you realize you're not just rising, you're evolving. And evolution changes everything. It changes the way you speak to yourself. It changes the way you face challenges. It changes the way you love, trust, and hope. You don't rise with the same innocence, you rise with wisdom. You don't rise with the same fears, you rise with understanding. You don't rise trying to prove yourself, you rise knowing your worth without needing permission or validation. And this shift, this deep internal shift, becomes the foundation of your new life. You start building from a stronger place. You start dreaming from a clearer mind. You start moving with a purpose that aligns with who you truly are. The rise after ruin is also marked by a new kind of strength. Not the kind people see in your muscles or your achievements, but the strength people feel in your presence. The strength that comes from surviving nights you thought would break you. The strength that comes from rebuilding yourself without applause. The strength that comes from learning to stand alone and realizing you're capable of doing so. This strength is quiet but powerful. It doesn't brag. It doesn't shout. It simply exists. Steady, stable, unshakable. And as you continue rising, you begin to understand why everything happened the way it did. The heartbreaks, the setbacks, the losses, the betrayals, the disappointments. At the time, it felt like life was tearing you apart, but now you see that it was clearing the path. It was removing what wasn't meant for your future. It was reshaping you into someone capable of carrying the blessings that are coming. You realize that if life hadn't broken you, you would have remained stuck in places that were beneath you. You would have settled for less than you deserved. You would have stayed blind to your own potential. The breaking wasn't the end, it was the beginning of your awakening. As you rise, you no longer chase things that drain your soul. You no longer cling to what hurts you. You no longer fight to prove your value. You start walking with a calm certainty, trusting that what is meant for you will never require you to lose yourself. You begin to build, piece by piece, a life that feels true, a life that reflects your healing, your growth, your strength, a life that aligns with the person you've become after surviving everything that tried to stop you. And then, one day, you will look back at the ruin that once devastated you and realize something powerful. You didn't just rise from it, you rose because of it.